Welcome
Welcome
to Sleep Drunk.
to Sleep Drunk, where Alex is a shaky-eyed homosexual.
Apparently so.
Okay,
I wasn't aware of this until a few days ago.
Yeah, indeed you are. You also like strangling geese.
Apparently so, yeah.
I mean, you did discuss that this morning.
Well, I didn't
This
discuss
afternoon.
strangling the geese. You kind of just spun it into that, as you tend to do. You love
that
to
I
just
do.
spin things out of
I do.
control.
I am a spinner. Ooh.
I don't know if it's something you should just say, but
I mean, it be like that, you know. I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of my identity. That being said, this episode we're going to be doing a couple of things. First off, I'm going to be bringing Alex a surprise segment. He has no idea what it's going to be, and I hope it's going to be pretty interesting.
to be honest, I'm really worried about this one. I hope you don't go too far.
It should be good. I think you'll like it, Alex. I know you will.
And then there's a pit in this olive. There's a pit in this olive.
Come again?
There's a pit in this olive.
And then last, we're going to be talking a bit about social media right after Discussion Avenue. So, without further ado, going into this super special secret segment. Throughout the history of music, there are many people who have had a lot of really pivotal roles. You have people, like Johann Sebastian Bach. You have Mongolian throat singers. You have Elvis Presley. You have Tupac. But I think it's hard to dispute the greatest musician of all time, and I think really a member of the Sleep Drunk pantheon, the one, the only, Juicy J. So today on Sleep Drunk,
Oh, God.
I present the life and times of legendary hip-hop artist, creator of songs such as Slob on My Knob and Gun Plus a Mask, Juicy J. Alex,
Okay, so
are you ready?
I remember this is probably 2 weeks ago. We were in the mailroom and I mentioned Juicy J for the first time to Alavi because
this
I
happened when we
had
were in
heard
your
about
car.
him from my brother and he was always just a bit of a meme. And now I got this whole ball rolling where Alavi just goes nutso on stupid Juicy J crap.
I mean, it's all been researched for this episode. This started weeks ago. So, start off. Jordan Michael Houston, born in what is commonly known as a city that doesn't have anything particularly famous for it. He was born in Memphis, Tennessee. Like, it's a well-known city, but I don't know what Memphis is famous for. Alex, do you have any idea what Memphis is famous for?
No.
I mean, I know they have good barbecue, but like, it's not like the barbecue capital of the United States or anything. Like, it's just kind of Memphis.
I mean, yeah, I've heard of Memphis barbecue. That's
Like, it's good, but like, I don't think it's. But
I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of culture there. It's not just like a fucking wasteland.
I've heard it's like a nice city, but there's just
Nebraska.
nothing super famous about it. It's like, DC's the capital of the country. New York is New York, and like every city kind of has their thing. Or Chicago is known for like deep dish pizza or whatever. But I don't know anything famous about Memphis besides, of course, being the crucible that forged the god of all music, Juicy J. So, Juicy J, he was born April 5th, 1975, a day that should be a national holiday, I feel. And unlike a lot of hip-hop artists who started out living, they tend to have, like, harder lives, there's crime around them, there is negative influences. He spent most of his time studying the music industry, learning about it, and really developing himself and preparing himself for this career. He really groomed himself for this. And this is quite evident as in 11th grade, he wrote what I feel like should be the new national anthem, personally, of Slob on My Knob in a textbook for one of his classes. Really visionary lines such as lick on my butt. Great, really important lines there. And so he went through high school studying the music industry and actually recorded Slob on My Knob originally on a 4-track, which he bought from a teacher of his, which I think is interesting. He wrote his arguably most famous song in school and recorded it using a device he got from school. But in 1991, he formed legendary hip-hop group. It's actually a very influential hip-hop group, especially in earlier hip-hop, 3-6 Mafia, with Lord Infamous and DJ Paul. And credit for the name, DJ Paul, it's a name. It's straightforward. It is to the point, and they know he is Paul. He is a DJ. Now, Alex, would your name be DJ Alex?
Paul. Nah, you're gonna be DJ Paul. That's how that came about. You know it.
Yeah. I mean, that or we just might not be that creative. That being said, in the album cover for their first and only album as the group, Tear the Club Up Thugs, he is shown with a toothpick through his nose, like a septum. And DJ Paul, he's a guy. I think we should all aspire to be like DJ Paul, frankly. Okay, so after forming 36 Mafia, he went on to bring on Crunchy Black, Gangsta Boo, and I don't know how to say his name, and I'm kind of worried. It's Koopsta, Knicca. Is it Nika? Is it Knik? I don't know how to say it. If you do know, you can tweet us at SleepdrunkPC and tell me how to pronounce this legendary artist's name.
Alavi, are you serious? I hate
always
you so much.
Be plugging, Alex. Always. Drive engagement. Be a prostitute to the algorithms.
I believe Michael left the show, actually.
Yeah, he did. I mean, someone's got to fill the place.
No, I don't think we need a prostitute here.
I mean, you say that. Where'd those $5 keep going, Alex?
Olives.
It's a bit early to talk about the olives, Alex. We can save that for a little bit later. But so Juicy, Mr. J, the man himself, the Juice Man, as he says, Juicy is his name. I'm pretty sure he's legally going to change his name to Juicy at some point. But he found 36 Mafia, just kind of does this thing for a while. They released 8 albums, which is a lot, honestly. That's a long and fruitful career. But then he releases his debut solo album called Chronicles of the Juice Man, which I feel like should be the episode title, and having read that. So, Chronicles of the Juice Man, that's dropped. And then
I'm going to put that in the notes.
2010, he breaks off. He leaves 36 Mafia behind and moves on to what I think is really a big part of his career, and I think the part that a lot of us might remember, because for a lot of people of our age, we don't know Juicy J from 36 Mafia, because when we were at the age when 36 Mafia was prevalent, our parents wouldn't let us listen to that kind of music because guns and drugs and sex.
My mom didn't care. It's just that I didn't want to listen to that.
Yeah, that's fair. But so I know a lot of people in our generation know him from his album Stay Trippy with the legendary, and I mean legendary, song Gun Plus a Mask, where he discusses
or Bounce It.
Yes, Bounce It, but
and All I Blow Is Loud.
See, Alex is a connoisseur of the juice, man. Alex drinks the juice.
Trippy. Stay Trippy is really just, it's how we know and love Juicy J, and also it was his, I feel like it was his goodbye to his career.
I mean, he did appear on Dark Horse with Katy Perry a bit later on.
Yeah, but no one cares.
And then, of course, recently, in a legendary comeback, in November 2018, I think one of the most important months of music history, he releases Neighbor, featuring Travis Scott. Or Travis Scott released a song featuring him called Neighbor, with, I think, a visionary line. That's song of the day, people.
I was ready to say, if you are looking to guess the song of the day, I think just then might be your chance.
Yeah. And I think the music video also has a very deep message. Like, you see Juicy J air hump, just kind of humping the air, which I think conveys a lot about how he has put his knob into the music industry and has really changed it, because you see 4 of him going at it simultaneously, and I think that's a really impactful message for the youth. And I just think some of his career highlights, once again, we have Stay Trippy, and then he formed a branch group called Tear the Club Up Thugs from 36 Mafia back in the early days, and their only album has, I think, one of the hardest to pronounce names of all time. Let me just look that up. It is called Crazy and Laz Days, or it could be Lazy Days. I'm not sure, because it is Crazy, the letter N, DALAZ, DAYZ, one word. 1999. Juicy J. DJ Paul, Lord Infamous.
I just don't believe that's English. I'm a bit skeptical here.
But, I mean, they very well might be like the words of a higher being, because as we know, Juicy J is, of course, the most impactful music artist of all time. So he very well could be speaking some higher form of language that we can't comprehend yet.
See, if you were a part of the Juicism religion, then you would know that Juicy J is our Lord and Savior, and that he has his own language that he speaks to us, and it is up to us to decipher it.
Yeah. For example, beautiful, impactful words. And other words such as I'm gonna need a second to compose myself. Hold on. She blamed it on me. We fought in the street. She pulled out a knife, so I had to flee. Talking about, I think, the struggles of him trying to spread his love, his influence, his juice, I feel like, to the rest of the world, because not everyone was receptive to the gospel, and as such, Lord Juice was brought to blows against non-believers, and I think it shows his willingness to sacrifice, because in the following verse from Slob 1-3, we see that he called up the boys and went to her house. They charged the whole place, and he threw the out. The police busted in where these neighbors at, and they left just in time and never came back. And it shows that
Can you recite to us the verse Slob 3:16?
Slob 3:16. Well, of course, roll through the hood, waving at the freaks, who's stiffing all the rocks and smoking all the geeks. Made another stop. Police station, saw a few cops, drove by and sprayed them. So he was enacting the divine retribution of Lord Juice. And I think another impactful line showing that it is possible to bring justice to your detractors and those who may work against you, as the Juice Man himself says. It's important. I think DJ Paul worked on this, one of the apostles of Lord Juice, and along with Lord Infamous, who was, I feel like, in many ways his direct disciple.
I hate this so much. I despise this. It's awful. See, this is God is dead and we killed him material.
And Juicy J has resurrected and taken his place. Long
Absolutely
live Lord
not.
Juice.
He is quite possibly the last person on Earth, actually.
He's also 44 years old. A lot older than I thought he was. He is getting on in his years. Huh. So, Alex, as a follower of Juicism, what would you say is your favorite Juicy J teaching?
His teaching that I just find the most personally impactful is gun plus a mask. All my goons know that equals cash.
That equals cash.
It just really speaks on a high level, It just says that if you put your mind to it right and you gather your materials up and you just put in that effort, it can become more than it is.
So much more. Thank you for sharing, Alex. However, there is an interesting association with that line, which I think reveals a much deeper meaning and showing some of his own personal struggles in finding enlightenment. Because, for those of you who don't know, in Australia, the term goon can refer to box wine, a form of cheap wine. And that whole verse from his many teachings revolves around the usage of sometimes less than above board means to acquire what you need. But I feel like really within it is a veiled teaching about the dangers of alcoholism. Because as Lord Juice says, a gun plus a mask, all my goons know that equals cash. Because his need for the goon sack, his need for the box wine is driving him to commit crimes. And I think it's really a warning to all of us followers of Lord Juice that to avoid our vices and consume in moderation. Amen.
Because as the apostle Gucci Mane once said, a man is lost without the sauce, but the same man can get lost in the sauce. So
Amen.
There's always that Goldilocks zone of sauce where you have to stay, otherwise you will get lost.
Yes. So that is also another extension of the sauce bowl. So that is a kind of a A book that is read in tangential with the Gospel of Gucci Mane, of Lord Juice. I apologize for mistaking him. But yes, it is important to read the Gospel in conjunction to the teachings of Lord Juice. Amen.
I really want to slap you. Are we done with this yet?
Okay, now with our religious teachings done, now it's time we take a brick of chat and use it to bludgeon the pedophile of debate who's diddled the child of discourse on Discussion Avenue.
Yeet.
Okay, so for everyone who tuned into Discussion Avenue last semester, we did get some new audio for it. I think it's interesting.
So, as you know, we're viewers of the Grand Tour and big fans, and I wouldn't say copy, but we've been inspired by them in more ways than one. But
many ways.
What we have done is, well, the original plan was to just have Alavi play the sheet music for the introduction to Discussion Avenue on his saxophone, which maybe we will accomplish in the future.
Yes.
But another rendition that he came up with was trying to convert an audio file of the actual intro to Conversation Street into a MIDI file. Basically, have a computer try to determine the sheet music and play it, and it sounds god awful, which is perfect for our show.
Exactly. So that's our new audio. If you like it, let us know. And if there's any suggestions you have for the other audio we have, because we've added some intro audio, transitional, and some outro audio, if you have any suggestions, feel free to let us know, because we really appreciate it. And I will probably re-record the intro bit once I'm back home and have more equipment, because at home I have a piano, a drum set, a bass, and multiple guitars, so I can make it sound a lot better. And so look forward to that. But if you have any other suggestions, please let us know.
It's going to be pretty damn spicy.
Yes.
If I do say so myself.
And that being said, Alex, how's your week been?
My week has been better than average. The semester is closing up, or the semester is coming to an end. I can definitely feel it in my workload. I returned home. I always have that little anxious period, and I didn't really get anything done on Sunday night. But Monday through Friday was really a breeze. Not too much interesting stuff happened other than I had a calculus exam on Thursday. I think it went well. You had the same, but you can get to that later.
Yes, I will. And
then Friday was fun. That's about all that I can say about Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then Saturday, we as a group of friends went to the local lake and just sort of had a cookout, and it was just a nice fun day.
I had a bit of an adventure, which I'll talk about in my bit.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And then today has been a lot less productive than I was planning and wanted it to be, but
yeah, me too.
I guess everybody has those times. And then next week is our last normal week of classes, which isn't this. I guess last week was my last normal week of classes, because a lot of my things are being canceled next week, which is fun. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so mine was, beginning of the week was quite similar to Alex's. The weekend we recorded episode 10 with Ryan. And I spent the rest of the time studying for my calculus and economics exam. I had an economics exam on Monday, which was very hard. Like, it was much harder than his other test. Probably one of the hardest tests I've taken in college this far, if not the hardest test. And then on Tuesday, I had like a micro panic attack in calculus, because I thought I was losing my hearing, because I heard like a loud whoosh sound in one of my ear and then a long tone, which I heard could be like your ear sensor hairs falling out. So I kind of did a bit of frantic research while we were studying parametric equations, which was fun. Turns out I don't think I am losing my hearing. I think it might just be earwax. But Wednesday was quite chill. Spent most of my time studying for calculus. And then Thursday, I went to CS but forgot to charge my laptop, so it died. And my calc test was actually relatively easy. I think it's probably my best test I've had this semester. I think I did good on it, which I am quite happy for. And Friday, Friday was a day. So, for context, I normally have Fridays off. Like, that is my off day. It's just part of my weekend. And so I went to bed a little late, passed out around 2 a.m., right? Wake up 5:20 a.m. My body was just kind of like, hey, time to wake up. And I'm like, okay. So I'm just kind of lying in bed for a bit. Can't get back to sleep. Around 5:45, took a puff from my inhaler, took some Tylenol, tried to sleep, couldn't. So I started texting some of my friends, right? One of my friends, Max, he was still up, and he got pulled over for driving 4 of the speed limit, which was interesting, to say the least. 6 a.m., got a granola bar, okay? Then when I mentioned that, Max is like, hey, I'm about to go to Chick-fil-A. And I think, damn, I need some Chick-fil-A. So while Michael is still sleeping, I quietly get dressed, grab my board, and then skate out to our campus Chick-fil-A because they said they were open at 6:30 and I was heading out around 7. However, I get there and the building that the Chick-fil-A is in doesn't open until 7:30, and that Chick-fil-A doesn't offer breakfast. So I Google the nearest Chick-fil-A. I go to my car, drive there, and on the way, my friend Chuck, 2Cs, has a donut thrown at him. Monumental. Like, absolutely just colossal event. Donut was thrown at him. In addition, Max was on a road with a funny name, which I'm not going to mention because it could dox him. Got a burrito, some coffee, some chicken minis, came back. Ate in the common room. By the time I'm done, it's 8:30, and my alarm to wake me up hasn't gone off yet. So I go back to bed before I'm supposed to wake up, get out of bed, I watch Avengers Endgame. It was incredible. Like, actually, people in the theater were crying. I almost cried. And it was really good. I'm not going to spoil it at all because I just think that you should experience this, especially if you've been a longtime MCU fan. But yeah, that was really good. Then had some fun with Alex. Next day, we do our cookout, and then Bree, friend of ours, and I decide, hey, let's go boat out on the lake along with these other 2 people that are with us. Some more friends. And we hit the lake, we're boating for a bit, having a good time. We're like, hey, time to head back. And then a very nasty pocket of wind comes up, and we just kind of get stranded on the lake for an hour. And everyone on the shore was waiting for us because we'd row forward a bunch, and then just kind of the moment we stopped to take a break, just get blown back to where we were, and it sucked. And so we spent an hour trying to row back, or over an hour trying to row back and get back to shore. And then today, I bought olives.
Also, on that topic, we called a rescue boat to go get them, and the rescue boat was sort of just always active, going and getting people like them. But when we sent them out for Alavi and Bree sort of just failed to signal that they were the ones to be rescued. Even though
the way we were told was that we were pointed out that he was supposed to come to us directly.
How were we supposed to identify you?
You guys were visible from the shore, from our perspective.
I mean, yes, but all of you guys look the same.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Literally everyone is in an identical boat.
But we did pull it back. We did manage to get back after hard work and perseverance and yelling at geese.
Also, I just want to... The amount of people that don't understand the concept of rowing hurts me. There's people that are just kind of dabbling their paddle in the water, or having one person with one paddle. It's what are you doing?
Yeah. For context, these are just pretty basic rowboats with 2 oars on each side that are stuck in little eyelets.
Also, yeah. I saw this family where there was I guess the dad at the back of the boat running a trolling motor. They had paid extra for a motorboat, and he just sort of didn't understand how to use the trolling motor whatsoever. Ooh. And after accidentally almost running the boat up on the shore, just sort of lifted it out of the water and held it out of the water while it was still running.
That's not safe, is it? That is
well,
less than
it's
safe.
Not only safe, it's wasteful, could burn the motor up, and it makes him look like an idiot.
Yes. So, inclusion, people are dumb. And
People
also, I bought
very
olives.
Dumb.
We bought olives.
Yes. So, actually, just a few hours ago, Alavi and I took an emergency trip to Wegmans to go buy some olives because they're pretty good.
Yeah. For our international viewers, Wegmans is kind of a high-end supermarket in the area.
It's not high-end, it's just really pretentious, and I absolutely hate it.
Pretentious, yeah. It tries to portray itself as high-end.
Yes, but it's just stupid.
That being said, I'm about to eat some olives right now. You guys are going to hear me eat olives live on the show. Hope y'all are ready.
See what I mean about the pits, though.
All right. Oh, that's good. Oh, so good. Those are good. Is it on the garlic olives by chance? So I'm assuming it's not the garlic clove, right?
I don't know.
Today on
also,
Sleepdrunk...
you sound like a really unenthusiastic guy having sex.
Today on Sleepdrunk, Alavi eats olives sexually. Olive break taken. Wegman's olive review, 8 out of 10. Very good.
Thank you, Kanye. Very cool.
Nice bit of tartness. There's that smoothness, the bit of like butteriness you get with the oils. Wonderful. Great olive.
So what you're saying is there's just a touch of olive oil.
Mm-hmm. Just a touch of olive oil.
All right.
Olive oil in. And this is that about wrap up discussion. Have any, Alex? You got anything else you want to talk about?
I don't have anything else I'd like to add. I think we're ready to move on to the last topic of discussion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Alex, for some context, why don't you explain to the viewers what you've been doing in relation to social media the past couple of days? It's been almost a week, actually.
Well, I'll just start from the beginning. So as I've mentioned on the show at least a few times, this semester has really screwed me up emotionally for some reason. I don't really know why other than the load, but like it's maybe I'm just like trying to play it down in my head, but I don't know. To me, it seems heavy. It's a lot heavier than I've ever had to do course work. I don't know how to word that eloquently, or I don't feel like it at least. But I have just started experiencing anxiety like I haven't ever before, especially when I come home. That's usually when it's the worst, or not when I come home, but when I come back to school from going home, which I've never really felt the need to go home until this semester either. And I've informed my mom about it, and I've talked with her, and we're working through things. I don't know, but she found this article on anxiety and suggested that I read it, and essentially it was just saying, well, it said a few things, and this isn't even really the thing that she was pointing out. She pointed out one thing. It said to really try to pin down the source of your anxiety and then do something about it if you want to fix it. And like, that sounds pretty obvious, but I guess when you're experiencing anxiety, that isn't obvious. That isn't that obvious. So I haven't had any success doing that, but I mean, I also haven't had too many episodes of it since I've read the article. But another thing that I saw in the article is that a common cause of anxiety, and especially depression in people of our generation, because of the high presence of social media in our lives, is social media. It can cause feelings of feeling lesser than other people and just general anxiety just by checking it regularly. So what I have decided to do is sort of not the quintessential off the grid thing at all, really. I've gone for a dumbed down approach of it, a more simplified approach, where I just try to use the bare minimum of social media, at least with actual social media, like of the conventional type, like where you see things from people you know, not YouTube and Reddit. I still use those, but I have completely stopped checking my Instagram. I have not opened the app since I've made this resolution. I never really check my Facebook. I don't have Twitter, and I don't look at my Snapchat stories. That one was a lot more difficult because it's just sort of muscle memory at this point, and Snapchat really, they really try to get you to look at the stories, obviously, because that's how they make money, is the ads in the stories. So if you don't check the stories for a little while and they notice that, then they'll even put a little annoying pop-up over your chats to let you know. And there's always that purple dot on the right page that lets you know, hey, there's new stuff over here. And it's quite difficult actually to get yourself to stop. But I think I'm at a point where I've completely erased that muscle memory. And from my 1 week trial period, it's been pretty good. I have not had but one sort of lesser anxious episode, which again, I don't really feel like was for any reason. I just had it. But all of last week, like through the weekdays, I felt great. I mean, that's the best I've felt probably all semester. And this weekend was fantastic, apart from like a few hours Saturday night before I went to bed. So I say that it works, but I mean, that's also not a very long trial period. So it's definitely something that you could try out. I mean, it's not going to hurt you in any way, but I'll definitely keep you updated if it continues to work or if it fails miserably. So yeah.
I know that CGP Grey, host of a podcast I listen to quite a lot called Cortex, he actually also left the internet for, I think, similar reasons, not exactly. And he was talking about, he's been doing this for almost over a year now, like a very similar thing where he's very much minimizing his social media. And I think he's doing even more than you are. He's like off of Reddit, off of basically everything. And he did say it has helped him a lot with both his mental health and also like his focus and a lot of other aspects of his life. And I think in a lot of ways, I mirror that sentiment because I try to mitigate my social media usage as much as I can. I know it has increased as of recently, but for example, I don't have an Instagram account. Like, I just don't, because I know that with the Facebook account I do have, whenever I check it, I always feel like crap afterwards. Like, I always feel sad and like kind of bummed out because I just see everyone else having their lives, and it just makes me feel bad, even though I know that what goes on social media is often through a lens, and it is a very small part of the entire picture. In the aggregate, with so many people, I find it does make me very anxious, and that's one of the reasons I don't have Instagram.
That is something that I wanted to point out there.
It'll do the same thing to me.
A lot of times when people post something, or people always filter out what they want people to see on their social media. It is always the best possible thing that they could put on there. Like, they won't post if it's something bad, unless it's like a hidden account or something that only few people have access to. Mm-hmm. People will always try to make their lives look good so that other people think well of them. But really what it does is it just causes a negative self-association after other people view that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, of course, in general, I think there are exceptions, but yeah, overall, I think that is what happens. And I just feel like, especially with Instagram, from what I've seen, because I do have the app on my phone to run the Sleepdrunk Instagram, I don't really check it, but from what I've seen just from other people using it, Instagram can get very superficial, like even more than Facebook, because it's based solely on images.
And see, that's why I say that is because I'm used to Instagram, and maybe Facebook isn't the same quite so much, but definitely on Instagram, it's and Snapchat stories.
Snapchat stories are bad.
Yeah, I mean, people only put the best parts of their lives in Snapchat stories. Yeah.
Just know this one dude who always puts really sad stuff on his story, but that's besides the point.
I mean, yeah, there are the handful of people that just put how depressed they are on there.
And frankly, I give props to them for doing that. That takes a lot of strength. Yeah, because like I know I went through similar episodes of anxiety about a year ago, and I actually found out that it was because of a medication I was taking for asthma. I think it's called Singulair. It's a low chance of side effect, but for me, it did cause a lot of anxiety, and so I stopped taking it. But yeah, I think that does take a lot of strength to do that. But I just think, in general, social media is one of those things that, since it's so new, people don't know how to consume it in moderation. Because I personally, I think this is a good segue into like more of the meat of this topic. I personally use a few, I guess what you classify social medias. I have Snapchat, which I use primarily for communication with like people that are close to me, and I do check some stories. I have a Facebook account, which is basically dead. I haven't actually written a post in like 3 years. I have Reddit, which is fantastic. I love Reddit, and I feel like I'm missing some. Those are the main ones. I think those are the ones that are primarily within my circle. I guess you can count YouTube, but I don't really see YouTube as a social network. I see it as a media platform, as a place where I go to watch stuff like TV.
Exactly. Yeah, I would not consider YouTube a social media platform.
Yeah. And I think out of those social networks in general, I think the one I get the most out of in terms of just personal enjoyment is probably Reddit, if I'm being honest.
I don't even know that I would consider Reddit a social media network, because you don't follow people you know on Reddit.
Yeah, but you can still communicate with people and like post boards and stuff. It's far more old school style. I think it's really like one of the precursors to current social media, which was like forum boards and stuff. And I think it's the most refined version of that. But I think regardless,
I don't classify it in the same. But maybe
that's fair. But I think out of the various, I guess I'll call it social platforms. I think you call it Reddit a social platform because it's about discussion and other content, but because I feel like Reddit is a tailored content stream to what you want. It's both very effective, but also I think quite dangerous from a time consumption perspective. Because another reason definitely. I don't use like Instagram is because with all social media, really, it's very easy to just kind of get sucked in and lose a ton of time in your day. Because I know, like, especially in the past couple of years, I've been feeling like days have been getting shorter. Just because, like, social media fills in the gaps in your life when you normally, like, let your brain go idle. Because, like, for example, like, let's say you're waiting in a line, right? For most people, that is time to check your social media, check whatever, right? Whereas before, that'll be time to just kind of be in your own head and be bored. And while people hate boredom is, I feel like, one of the catalysts of creativity. People are more creative when they have nothing to do.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, which is why, like, in the shower, I have all these crazy ideas. Like, I'm not going to tell us. I had a really funny idea for a certain thing in Endgame, which I'm not going to spoil. But I just, like, yeah, I think that's one of the reasons the shower is, like, this, like, crucible of ideas, is because it kind of forces you to be in your own head. Although that is changing because more phones are becoming waterproof. But I just think, yeah. You're saying?
Definitely in agreement with that statement. I'm not more of a conventional creative. I'm more of a technical creative. I'm just an engineer at heart. So since I've been a kid, since I've been capable of understanding these things, every time I come up with a new, like, good idea to build something, it's always in the summer when I'm out of school and I just don't have anything better to do than to sit there and be bored, and my mind runs wild with ideas and I make them. And honestly, I miss that. Yeah. Like, as much as I might have not liked it then, I wish I could actually go back to that, but I think at this point it's just not practical.
Yeah, I think especially because, like,
I'm just so used to having my phone as that way to fill my time, and also I can't practically come up with a way to mitigate phone use while still being able to stay in contact, which is in the modern day just a necessity.
Yeah, of course. And I think for me, another thing I really miss from before my, like, social media days was reading, because especially through elementary school, I was a voracious reader. Like, I would clock out multiple books in a day sometime, and I really loved it. And I can peg when I stopped reading. I can peg exactly when. That was when I got my first smart device, which was a Kindle Fire. I got it for my 11th birthday.
That's a little ironic.
Yeah. But, like, it's very ironic, actually, because for those of you who don't know, the first gen Kindle Fire was basically a crappy Android tablet. And I loved it. I did a lot of, like, fun tinkering with it, but that really did kill my reading, and I miss it, honestly. I really do miss reading. And I have been kind of getting back into it in a way. I've been reading a lot of nonfiction, like, I've been reading a lot of journalism and a bit of poetry, but overall I do just kind of miss sitting down and going through an entire novel. And I realize when I try, my attention span has gone down a lot. It has gone down. I think part of that
my attention span is awful, and
media.
I really wish I could fix that.
Yeah, and I feel
like that's a problem amongst a lot of people in this day and age too. People can't maintain attention to things.
Yeah, and I think I might make it a bit of a resolution this summer to try and start reading again. And I've picked up a couple of books which I think might be really interesting to me. I picked up Freakonomics by Stephen Dubner, and I should know the other writer's name, but I don't. but I listened to their podcast, and it's a quintessential economics book. I'm gonna pick up that. When I was younger, I loved sci-fi and fantasy literature. Like, for context, for those of you who know, I was a huge fan of the Inheritance Cycle, and I read the last book, which was over 1,000 pages. On release date, it took me, I think, 2 days to finish it. I just sat down and read all of it in 2 days as a 6th grader. So, that's impressive. Yeah, I loved that book, and I love that series. Honestly, it's fantastic, and I really do miss reading like a lot, because it's just a very different way of storytelling, because everything is done in the theater of the mind, and you're able to fill in the gaps and make the story feel a lot more personal. But yeah, although I have also been reading some H.P. Lovecraft recently, and that has helped a little bit. I did that over the summer. I'm planning to get back into that. But yeah, I think that's been one of the major impacts of social media on my life, is that I'm reading a lot less, and my attention span has gone down, which, especially I think in college, can be really detrimental, because for those of you who aren't in college, 3-hour classes exist, and they're not easy.
No, they are not. I know I specifically avoid 3-hour classes because I know that my attention span is not capable of that. But when you take lab sciences, it's impossible to avoid them. Like, you just have to take a 3-hour lab. And that is the class that I struggle with my attention span the most, because it's just so incredibly hard to make myself care about what's going on in that lab for that long. But the way my lab is set up, it is pretty much set up to guarantee that you will be there at least until a half hour before the lab comes, like, you're forced to leave.
Yeah, see, for me, my economics classes have all been 3-hour lectures, because my professor likes doing things. And especially with economics, when things can get very dense and jargony very quickly, it can be really tough to pay attention sometimes, especially if it's a aspect of economics you're not super into. Like, for example, my professor really likes economic history, and while I find it interesting, spending 3 hours talking about basically the same thing happening in a bunch of different countries at different times, this is hyperinflation, it gets kind of boring. But he just spent literally 3 hours talking about, hey, here's all the things that lead to hyperinflation. Look at it happen in Germany, in Hungary, in Zimbabwe, in Peru, in Bolivia. It's just the same thing. And it becomes really, really hard to pay attention. Like, they're genuinely very interesting things, but it's just because my attention span has gone down so much, I find it a lot harder. And I think, in light of this, I have a proposal. This has happened on the spot as I think of it. For the summer, why don't we begin a project? Let's call it Sleepdrunk Attention Span Club, where the two of us, you and I, Alex, we each do something that challenges our attention spans and see what happens. See what comes out. Alex, what do you think about establishing this impromptu phenomenon that I have?
I'm down. I mean, I don't have anything against it. What do you propose?
Well, I think, so let's say, for me, I think it would manifest as reading, but I know you're not much of a reader. So
no, I've always disliked reading.
Why don't we make this a bigger thing, actually? Why don't everyone listening, if you want to, if you're willing to, in the next few months, find something that challenges your attention span and start working at it. For me, I think that could be reading. Alex, for you, that could be something like some new projects. I think
it's going to have to be a project, because that's the only thing that I know that I would care about enough in order to actually
exactly, whatever fits you, right? Like, I know you're talking about getting like an Arduino set and some breadboards and stuff. So maybe doing some interesting projects. And over the course of, for us, the academic summer, we'll talk about what we've been doing to challenge our attention span. And if any of you, the listeners, have any interesting new challenges, you can let us know, and we can feature them on the show, and we can talk about it. And I think that could be pretty interesting, Alex. You're ready to launch Sleepdrunk Attention Span Club? It's like a book club, but
definitely am.
Okay, in that case, for the coming episodes, we will come up with some things we can do, and we'll talk about them on the air. I guess on the whatever device you're listening to
on the podcast, on the show.
On the show, yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I believe mine is just going to be some project that I have like about a 75% confidence level that I can do. Like it's going to be something really difficult and require a lot of components. And then I'm just somehow going to have to create all the circuit diagrams and everything. Like I'm not going to allow myself to use online resources. I'm just going to make my own thing. I don't know what yet, but I guess I'll come up with that and share it in future episodes.
If that's the case, want to make it for next episode maybe? Let's have we'll have some rough lists of things we're going to do, things we're going to make, things I'm going to read, and share them with the audience and go from there. Are you in disagreement with that? Rough ideas, no, of course, up to change. Okay, awesome. In that case, for the next week, feel free to brainstorm, think about anything you want to commit your own self to this summer, and tweet it to us, send it to us on our social medias, and we'll feature on the show. Sleep Drunk Attention Span Club. Launch.
Oh, I thought of something that we can mention.
Okay.
So recently, we discussed launching, or at least Alavi expressed his want to launch a Sleep Drunk blog.
Oh, so
it'll be mostly him on writing to it, but it will be, if it isn't available by the time this episode is released, it will soon be available on our website. I'm sure it won't be hard to find. It'll probably be under the Connect page.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be a place for mostly Alavi to just go write about things that are on his mind and we don't really think fit into episodes. And the chances are rare, but or the chances are slim, I should say. But there is a chance that I could go on the blog and write something as well. And
yeah, you could even talk about your design process and publish some schematics.
And there is going to be comments enabled, so feel free to do that. It's going to be a WordPress blog, so. Yeah.
And also, the first blog post, which I'm actually working on right now, is going to be talking about the MCU and what I'm bringing out of Endgame, which talk about you can read about more on sleepdrunk.com/blog. Is that where the site is?
That is where it will be.
Yes,
so
where it will
if
be.
You go there before it has formally launched, then you'll probably be able to tell.
Yeah, we'll have something saying. But yeah, so I guess that'll also be another part. We can keep putting updates there too. And you know what? I think for every book I finish, I'll put a review up there too. There'll be a book review for whatever I read.
Maybe that's what I could do over the summer. I'll post progress updates to my project in the blog.
Yeah. So with that being said, thank you for listening to this episode of Sleep Drunk. Remember that the first person to guess the song of the day on any of our social media or via email will get a shout out in the next episode. The song of the day for episode 10 was, drumroll, that will either be edited in or just be me tapping my computer. It was Get Down by B44, another legendary classic from the 90s that if you're fans of H3H3, I'm sure you know of. And as of now, no one has guessed it, but we also just put the episode up yesterday, so if anyone has guessed it, you'll hear it now. And as always, we like to just mention to share the show because we really appreciate it, and also review us on Apple Podcasts.
Yep. And the Sleep Drunk podcast can be found on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, like he said, including Apple Podcasts, but also Google Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube.
We'll catch you next week.